When I was about to start this podcast, I was wondering who should I call, what are the couple of guests. So I thought, Yatharth, I met him. He's in CSE, so he will be an interesting person to talk to.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I have had a very fun stint with podcasts. Like everybody, I think everybody in India, any engineering person, if you
Hmm.
talk to them and they'll be like, yes, at some point I also thought about starting my own podcast. So I have had that like now 3, 4 times. When I was in like 11, 12th with my friends, like let's do a podcast, Eventually with your friends, you reach a point where it's like, let's do a podcast. It's like taking, your
Yeah,
relationship further. It's like taking your friendship further. Let's do a podcast together.
yeah,
So
but not
it's always fun.
yeah, but there are a lot of podcasts in India, just fun stuff and all. But I want to let's go into the more learning aspects because I feel like whether somebody watches this or not, I should be the person who's learning. you know,
Yeah,
so that's the thing. So
no,
yeah,
yeah.
you were telling something.
Yeah, I was saying like I always love talking to people because I feel no matter like what age or from whatever background, just talking to people brings out a lot with them and you'll get to learn a lot from their experiences, from their life, whatever.
Yeah,
So I always enjoy talking to people and improving myself, improving my life from
yeah.
whatever insights they have. So it's
I
always
mean,
fun to chat.
yeah, everybody contains a piece of puzzle. So
Yeah.
it's like never waste talking to someone. So let's start with a journey, right? Scoring 1051 rank in J Advance is a really incredible achievement. Can you walk us through your journey?
Yeah, so my dad is from a marketing background, so we used to shift a lot. So in 11th, I had no problem going to Kota. My parents sent me there. So I was studying in Vibrant Academy there. And it was a nice place. I got to learn a lot. I got inspired from the directors there a lot. I think you probably have heard the names of Narendra Avasthi, Vikas Gupta. Their books are very popular.
Yeah, and Avasti.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and Avasthi or the Black Book in maths that people
Yeah.
usually solve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's by Vikas. So I was in the classroom where they were teaching me. So it was very inspiring, like, learning from them and seeing how they are thinking about things. So I think that's where I got really inspired and started doing studying actually seriously. Then 12th came, COVID was there, and everybody I think saw a hit. They were like, okay, when will the exam be? It's getting postponed again and again, again and again. And finally the exam happened. Whatever happened, happened, and then the results came, and yeah, it was it. That's mostly my journey. I've been just
But you
going
were
through my thing.
consistent all the time, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what was the key here. Many of my friends who were there in like very good in 11th fell off a little bit because they sort of were giving up. Like, hey, when is it going to happen? I don't know. They could not keep up with the pressure. I was there chilling every night reading
Just chill.
the yeah
Like,
one fun thing is when I got into 12th, my because of the online education and everything, my dad got me a laptop, and the laptop was a gaming laptop on my insistent. Um, and I just got a bunch of games on it and used to play every day, like religiously. I don't think I studied as religiously as I played games in that 1 year. I also loved making games, so I did some progress there. But I think just having a good balance in life was what kept me going. People just focus on the studies, which is important, definitely. But just taking my mind off for 1 or 2 hours every day was what kept me okay. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Okay, 2 months extended, no problem. I'll keep studying. I'll keep studying. I think that's what got me through.
it's nothing wrong for like 1 and 2 hour, but generally that 1 to 2 hour becomes 1 day, 2 day, 1 week. That's what happens. That's when everybody starts to fail. You would have, felt too, like giving up on some JEE preparation, felt some setbacks. What did you told to yourself? Like, I'll do it.
I would say my motivation for like clearing JEE was a little bit different. I was not in it because after talking to a bunch of my peers here in IIT, I realized people join it for a couple of main reasons. First is their parents said so, right?
Yeah,
Parents said it's a good college, do engineering. They were smart,
definitely.
got into,
Mm.
yeah, that's one of the things. Second is they want to earn money, and getting into an IIT, you will get a good job and you'll make a lot of money. Very few people fall into the third category, which I myself think I belong to. Is I wanted to come here to meet the incredible people, meet smart people, smart folks like me who are not as much smart as much motivated, to do something bigger. When I was little, like since I have been little, I loved playing games and wanted to make my own games, start my own gaming studio and all of that. And just after a little bit looking into it, I realized it's not a one man job. It's very tough. So I would need some more motivated and smart people like me to actually get into it. So that's my motivation for getting into an IIT. So that never faded. I actually kept it alive by playing games every day for 1 or 2 hours. So yeah, I never really felt like giving up, but there was always like, what if, what that, but
Yeah.
I just fought it and moved on.
The third category you talked about, I think that's a most important fact a person should look to. Like, yeah, you want to meet incredible bunch of people. My I think I fall into the third category too, because getting like-minded people around you is very tough, and you will get that kind of people at really high places. Like IITs is like top 1% of the Indian brain, so that's a great thing. Many people fell into trap of no, like their parents want them to go to the IITs, and like there is no personal something connection with that. Then there's, I think, they're not being consistent because of that. But this is a big run, big marathon. You have to be consistent for a whole 2 years. Stuff. No. Do you think people who are able to crack into IITs and people who end up getting into tier three college, tier two college, what are the main differences? Like someone who is getting into tier three college, what would you say to them?
So, from my personal interactions, I would say the distribution of people, in the general population is kind
Yeah.
of very similar. You will find that obviously, a person who is good at math definitely cracked JEE. And yes, there are some of those things like being good at studies, but I think that's not the main difference. The main differentiating factor, which I see, is people in IITs get distracted less frequently. Like if you give them a task and you make them realize that, hey, this is important, they'll end up doing it. No matter what the task is. If you give them the right motivation, they'll do anything. So the fun point of that is if you see a bunch of profiles of people from IITs, you'll find that in their first year, they were doing something vastly different. Like I know a bunch of folks who are really good with hardware and like into hardware companies working with like Jaguar and stuff. In their first year, were making websites. They have made a website and that's their project. So, who knows what? So the one major differentiating factor is they get distracted much, much less frequently as compared to people from tier three colleges. But I've seen that there are some really amazing folks from tier two who are consistent and keep doing incredible things, keep working on one thing, and are consistently just pressuring on. And I think I see those folks getting very far.
Yeah, you would find one or two people or some group of people, at
Yeah.
that kind of level in every tier three or tier two college, because they realize they have, fucked up their preparation. So why not utilize the college time to learn something very good? It's great. So, when you get into college, you were going into IIT Indore and you found out that there's so many stuff to do, like programming projects, ML, finance, so many sports to play on. Because the 2 years, you do nothing, expect, like studying and all. Mostly, variety of students don't
Yeah.
do any kind of extra stuff. Even the parents don't allow it. So, when they go into the college, there's so many things to do. According to you, what are the couple of things students should start doing in the first year of college or second year, third year?
I would say first year, like my roadmap was first year is for exploration. Try whatever you find interesting. So when I got into college, there was an orientation where we were told about, hey, these are all the things that you can do.
Yeah.
And everything I saw, I was like, hey, I want to do that. They're talking about acting. I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. They're talking about programming club. Yes, I want to join that. Google Developers Club. Yes, I want to join that. So everything, I was like, okay, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. So just go wild. I would say that's what I'm saying. I just talked about hardware guys who were doing web development in the first year. There is a lot of variety of people doing things. So first year is about all about exploration. You do not know what you want in your first year, and even if you do, like I knew I wanted to do game development, and that did not. I quickly realized that that's really hard. You need very talented, very skilled people working consistently for months to be able to produce a good game. And I realized that I'm not at a point where I myself am that good, or people around me that are that good. So I transitioned towards machine learning. I was like, hey, that seems cool. What about playing games using, AI automatically? That seems like a cool idea. So I ventured into that, and that became my thing. So I would say first year is all about exploration. Go wild, explore whatever you want to do, but just keep in mind that whatever you do, you figure out if you like it or not. You keep asking yourself this one question: hey, did I have fun there? Just keep that in your mind and the back of your mind, and I think you'll be good. So explore, do programming, web development, go into hardware, go into workshops a lot. I would say many colleges have workshops with their clubs and everything. So attend those as much as you can in your first year.
What about in second year?
Second year is about honing in, I would say. So now you have ideally figured out what you want to do. That, hey, I feel like web development is the thing for me, for example. So I want to be a web developer, design websites, or design front ends, or if you are into like back ends. Nobody, to be honest, like I've never met anybody who's passionate about back end. People are
Yeah.
just in it for the money or
Yeah.
stuff. Like the
Lot of
jobs are
money.
there, so I
Correct.
will do back end. But usually I find people who are either really into making the full thing. So people want to build the front end, back end, everything, a cool website, a cool product. Many people want to be an entrepreneur. So they would want to create their own startup, create their own product. So I would say second year is about refining your knowledge in that area. So for me personally, second year was all about diving deep into ML, doing a bunch of projects. I made a physical arm that plays tic-tac-toe with people, which was really interesting. So I got to learn about hardware there because I thought initially robotics would be something that I would want to do. I loved the idea of AI playing games by themselves. So why not do everyday tasks? And you want to integrate that with robotics. So that was an area I dived into a little bit. I also participated in a challenge called NXP, as well as E-Yantra. Like these are a bunch of things that you get to know about in your second year. So making a physical 3D robot, they send you the kit and everything, and you just assemble it, put your own firmware, and it then do a bunch of things. So yeah, I think second year is refining and refining and refining and just diving deep.
And in third and fourth year?
Okay, so third and fourth. Okay, so if we continue, third year is now you have actually learned a lot, done some cool projects, and mostly by then you have a bunch of pieces. So okay, I learned how to write tests. A core important feature about any software is having it reproducible and testable, so that you can quickly deploy. So when you get into a company, you realize that it's really important that, hey, it's passing all the tests. You hear about that and think that it's normal, but yeah, writing your own tests is important. So you learn about tests, you learn about creating a backend, you learn about using an ML model. But these are separate right now. You have different projects who do these things. I would say third year is about making that one cool signature project that combines everything that you know. So that will showcase, hey, this is the sum of everything. Um, and then using all of that and all your power into actually finding something to do at either the industry level or the research level. I would say personally, when you are just starting out, getting into a startup can be very good because you get to learn a lot. And startups usually are very fast moving, so you won't lose interest or get bored. If you work in a company per se, a big company, they'll be like, okay, this work, yeah, can happen in 2 months. Even if it's like a 2 day or 3 day job. Like, okay, can happen in 2 months. There will be a lot of internal reviews and you can get bored. That's based on the feedback I have gotten from my friends. I have worked in like startups for 1.5 years and find it incredibly interesting and I would say enlightening. I keep learning new things. Okay, hey, okay, today I'm talking about this, today I'm doing this, today I'm doing that. So I would say third year is all about hunting. Just go job hunting, create your full resume, show that one big project in bold, and just go ahead, find something to do. I would say if you have good uh, technical skills as well as good communication skills, you need to be able to convey that you are, you know, this good, you have these skills. Because I have stuck to one mantra from my first year that jo dikta hai wo bikta hai. So,
Yeah.
right, if I am showcasing myself, I have to spend equal amounts of energy, if not just a little bit more, in showcasing what I built than I'm spending on building things. So, I would say doing that is very important in your third year. Showcase yourself, get a job. Fourth year is, I would say, about getting a bit comfortable. Now you have, gotten your, you know, you have gotten your entire thing figured out. Okay, I am in this domain. I am doing this. I have some kind of experience with this industry. I have this experience with my research or whatever. And now is the time that you want to go ahead and settle in. Okay, I have got these things figured out. Now I want to achieve, let's say, your dream and doing something that's a little bit more chill now. And it can also act as a fail safe. So, like, just a little bit extra time if you're not able to achieve what you wanted in your third year. So, keep hunting, or if you found something, then keep trying, keep learning, and keep improving towards your dream. So, my dream was making games and all of that. So I now find time a little bit here and there to try and make my own games again, you know, learning how to make games. Now I know, okay, these are the companies. So fun fact, I just for funsies applied to Rockstar Games in Bangalore for a QA. Not something I do, but I still did because I thought, hey, what if?
Yeah.
So I
That
would
what
say
if?
that's your fourth year. Just
There's
settle
nothing
in.
in, yeah, there's nothing in trying, you can apply to anything you want. You talk, you've been working in startup for 1.5 years now, and you have been working in 3 startups so far. How did you get a job and how did you progress? And what are the kind of startups you're working on?
So I would start with what kind of startups I'm working on with. So I personally started in ML and have been doing, these generative AI things. Actually, before that, before this generative AI was popular, I have been doing ML much before then. So, ChatGPT released when I was working with LLMs. And I personally was taking up projects under research, like research projects under professors and learning about these things in a research perspective. So my first job was not related to that at all. That's what I'm saying. Whatever you do is not necessarily what you get a job in.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of an interesting story. I was the head of the machine learning club at Synaptics at IIT Indore. And this company, Segment, they contacted us that, hey, we want to do this event and you have a community of developers and we want to, showcase our APIs. The company was building APIs like Stable Diffusion and these image generation models like DALI. So they had these APIs that you could use, background removal and all of that. They were like, we want to create, an environment of your developers using our APIs to build tools. I was like, yeah, that sounds interesting, like a really cool idea. Um, would surely be interested. So I dived a little bit more just to check the company first if I'm hosting a thing myself. And I found them really interesting. I found one core thing to be missing. Now that was that everybody, like OpenAI, 11 Labs, any API provider use has a Python SDK. They have this pip install package that you can quickly install and get started with using the APIs without having to manually call endpoints and all of that. I found that they did not have it, was a little bit missing to me. So I thought, hey, why not? I know how to create packages. Why not create a package and publish it? So I created a package that had 11 APIs at that point. I created a package and I published it. So you could install it with pip install segment API. And I sent to the one of the co-founders that, hey, I built this. I thought that you have this missing. I found it really cool and I built it. So let me know what you think about it. I was mainly doing it because, again, I wanted to apply everything that I knew.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I know how to do this. Why not? It was vacations, anyways. We have 3 months free. I was in my second year, just finished my second year. So let's go. They really liked it. And they were like, hey, that's really cool of you. Why don't you maintain this package and we'll pay you a little stipend and all that. I was like, that's fine with me. I don't want the money. I don't want anything. I just thought it would be cool. So they took me in, and um, after that, now they only had 11 APIs at that point. And maintaining the package means there should be more APIs to add. So they were like, hey, would you be interested in adding more stuff? Like, yeah, sure. And they just, from then onwards, they thought, okay, we want to do this research project. I was like, yeah, sure. And that's just, yeah, sure. And they want to just kept on snowballing, and we kept doing bigger and bigger projects. Eventually, we did a collaboration with Hugging Face, and we made this model called SSD1B, which got 2 million downloads in just a couple of
Yeah.
months of release. And it was really big, really cool project. So just that gave me momentum, and I kept continuing. So I would say the thing that got me a job was not wanting to get a job, but just to showcase myself, and that ended up getting it. So that's something like startups usually are looking for good talent. So if you have
Mm.
good skills, just build something and show it to them. People ask, "Hey, what was your resume like when you applied?" Like, I never really applied. I People just see my projects and they're like, "Hey, you seem like a guy we want.
Yeah.
Come on aboard." And that's it.
It, yeah, that's the thing, like you want to do something in that field and you create some cool stuff and you show it to the right people and you would get the right job. That's the thing, People really don't understand that. So
Yeah, I would say that's really important. That's what I'm saying. Like, jo dikhta hai, wo bikhta hai. Just showcase yourself, sell yourself to the max.
yeah, people are like, let's create a good resume, good this and that stuff, and that's, showing the certificate scores that I have done this. But if you're not showing what you can do for them, then you're not really valuable to them. If you show what you can do for them, then they'll see you like, yeah, this is the guy we want, and then they'll hire you. That's the thing. You had right intentions. I looked it into your achievements. It's pretty incredible. Your research paper published in conference on reinforcement learning in your first year. You build and released a game on the Play Store in your first year. You built a SSD1B model, which you just told, which got 2 million downloads in just a couple of months after its release. You were the head of mechanical learning club in IIT Indore. You won 2 silver medal in Inter IIT in ML. That's really great. Inter IIT is very big. I mean, having a competition between top brains of the mind and you still won 2 silver medals. That's great.
Yeah, I would say, machine learning is something that I have been very passionate about, and when given the chance in my second year that, hey, Inter-IT is coming. Even when I joined in my first year, we joined a little bit late due to COVID in like end of November. And Inter-IT usually happens at that time. So we join in and we get a mail, hey, Inter-IT is happening in my first year. And to prepare for Inter-IT, we're going to do these bunch of projects. Whoever is interested, fill this form and everything. They were organized by like third and fourth years. So I was fresh into college, barely even 4 or 5 days in. Did not know what anything was, but Inter IIT is pretty self-explanatory. That it's a competition between all the IITs, and you get to represent your college. So like, hell yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So there were a bunch of projects, and there was one project that really stuck out to me, which was creating ASL readings like software, so you can read sign language. that was kind of a really interesting project to me. So I just started, like, I had very little experience in machine learning and everything by then. So I was like, okay, so let's look into it. I started Googling, started finding things, and created a big document, like 5-6 pages, on how I would go about solving it. I ended up like specifying, okay, I would use this hardware, I would create this specialized module or an app on a phone, because nowadays phones are really good. Your phones have like 4 cameras on the back, or 2 cameras in the front. The phone
Yeah.
I had at that point had 2 cameras. It was a OnePlus phone, 2 cameras in the front. I was like, it can detect stuff. Having these bunch of cameras, you can do this depth sensing and do all this. So I did a bunch of crazy shit and just showed it to them, and they were like, they were, to be honest, mostly speechless. That I was not the target audience. The target audience was other second, third, and fourth years, people who have been in the college, people who have skills to actually participate, and they were like, really cool shit. You get this other problem statement of classifying leaves. You're given a photo of leaf and
Yeah.
figure out which kind of leaf it is. Like, okay, whatever I got, I got. I learned about that, built something in like 3-4 days. They were like, great stuff, very good, and then just forgot about it. It was done. What happened was, then I found out much later from that senior. I thought he was a professor or something. At that point, he told me that, hey, I'm just a third year guy. So what I found was IIT had gotten postponed. So that's why like these projects were like, okay, we did it. Cool, IIT is not happening anymore. So whatever. 3-4 months later, IIT then happened, and problem statements, the real ones came. And I asked them, hey, should I apply? And they were like, yeah, go ahead. I did. I did not get in. But from then onwards, it was my passion. Hey, let's get into IIT. So next year when it happened, when I was in my second year, I applied to the first problem statement that came. It was a machine learning. So there are a bunch of things like high prep, mid prep, low prep, the amount of time you get. So if you get 2 months, then it's a high preparation problem statement. So it was one of the bigger ones. Got it. I applied. I got in, and I started working on, projects like that. So I would say I learned a lot in that project. We were to, back then, ChatGPT was very new. Like ChatGPT had released 1 or 2 months prior maximum. It was very new, and these things were just becoming public. LLMs or language models had been there by then, but not stuff like ChatGPT. So the company wanted to build something that would run on much smaller device and have similar quality, but would be restricted to one particular domain for one particular company. So they were like, huh, here you go. This is some data. Try train something or build something. And we built a really cool pipeline and all of that. And it was really fun, and we got second place. Like I remember, it was happening in IIT Kanpur. We just gave our presentation, and after presentation, it was post lunch, so we went to Domino's, had some pizza, and we saw that the Bombay people, they just had the presentation before us. They were having pizza, so I thought, hey, let's go and talk to them. So I went to them and like, hey, I saw your PPT. It's kind of very similar to us. Hey, they're like, okay, what did you use? Like, we use this. Hey, we use the similar thing. That's really cool. Why did you use that? And then like, okay, which year are you in? Fourth year or what's up? Like, I'm in second year. Like, really? We're in like fifth year, PhD folks, and we are thinking about this. You're in the second year doing this stuff. That's really cool. So then I realized, after talking to, like, going to that inter-IT experience was really great, because I get to, so there is a gala dinner where you have a dinner with everybody. You can talk to everybody and get a idea of who is doing what and what kind of. I found that almost all of these old IITs are sending like their biggest people, third years, fourth years, fifth years, PhD folks, and we are sending our second years, third years at max. Just 1 or 2 fourth years, but yeah, just second and third years. I'm still competing with them. So I found that really inspiring, and something that I myself pushed myself with, and gave like my juniors that, hey guys, when you go there, you are going to represent our college, and these have these big people. So you have to make sure that you are giving your best. You are learning the most. So inter IT both years have been really fun. Last year I was the contingent leader, so I led the entire contingent of IIT Indore of 90 plus people into
Yeah.
15 problem statements and stuff. So that was definitely a very interesting experience. that
That's
I
the
got
thing.
to do that.
You really have a great achievements. What is the best thing that you learn in this inter-IITs competition?
I would say the most important thing is how to work with this many smart people.
Yeah,
That,
that's a
you know,
yeah.
yeah, assigning tasks between yourself
Hmm.
or assigning tasks to each other when you know that anybody can actually do mostly anything, then figuring it out that his skills. So that's what I learned from being the contingent leader, that I had to assign these teams. I had to be the one who was deciding these things. So I had to now judge people who are kind of incredible. Everybody is really good. So how do you figure out that, hey, this guy would be probably better with that, this probably, and how people would gel well together, right? Making a team is not just about having just the smartest people in one area. If the people do not work well together, like it's a puzzle piece. If they do not fit, then it's not a point. So I think that's the biggest thing I learned with interacting is how do you distribute work? How do you figure out who does what well? And that I think really improved myself when it came to like my professional work, when it's about working in a startup. Like how do I assign myself things? How do I ask people what you are doing and whatever that? So that's I think the biggest thing I learned.
That thing to find which guy is suitable for that kind of particular job is the really hardest, really hard
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Finding that and recognizing that is when you develop that kind of skill, then you are really in demand. You are really in demand in the market.
yeah, for sure.
That's what you have seen in this top CEOs, top CTOs in companies, that they really do know well that what kind of guy is suitable for what kind of job.
Exactly. I think that also got reinforced when I was the head of the machine learning club. That I was, so in our club there were like 40 plus people. So figuring out what projects we should do, who should be the ones doing the project, what kind of workshops should we be taking, what kind of people should we be calling for workshops. So I think doing that gives you a really good idea, like being a club head or leading a group of people into something gives you an idea of like a small startup, right? I have a bunch of people at my disposal who are willing to do a bunch of things, and I have to decide what we should do, who should do what. I think that was really cool. That was really interesting, and I got to learn these skills from that as well.
And even more, you have so much interest in robotics, ML, cybersecurity, quantum computing. You finished third in the world's in IBM Spring Challenge in quantum
No, no,
computing.
13th.
That's
I
really
finished.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I finished
13th.
13th. Yeah, I finished 13th. So it was the same
Sorry,
summer
13th.
that
Yeah.
yeah, that I got in, that I got my first internship. So before getting that, there was this IBM quantum computing challenge going on. And back then, even now, there was this new field emerging called quantum machine learning. So that I was interested in machine learning, and quantum computing is really interesting if you know that, it can crack encryption. So
Yeah.
the connection we are talking towards, anybody could hack into it. That's a possibility. Not really physically possible at the moment, but that's a possibility with the algorithm that works on quantum computing basics. So I knew about that Shor's algorithm and everything, and I thought, hey, why not try it out? So IBM had this challenge going on that you should try it. So I did the challenge, and luckily I finished 13th. It was really fun, and I got to learn quite a bit about quantum computing. It was a really cool challenge. So I would say doing all of these things and exploring in my first and second year a little bit definitely got me a very important skill that I think is required for getting a job, is not figuring out how to do things, but figuring out what to do. Like, what is a good thing to do, right?
Hmm.
I know, okay, this is cybersecurity can be done. This is so whenever anybody comes to me, hey, I want to solve this problem using machine learning. My first thought is, how can it be solved without using machine learning? Because justifying the need for something that is tough to do or hard to do is very important. Going all in headfirst into developing a complex solution is usually a bad idea. That's what I've learned from doing all of these projects. Is first you need to figure out what I should do and what's the easiest way to do that. Once you have that down, then you can quickly build upon that and build a complex, much better, much more polished solution. So I think that's really important.
That's an interesting perspective. you know, figuring it out how to solve the toughest problem without using that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me more on that subject, how to solve very, really, really complex problems.
Yeah. So, like, I would say one a bunch of things that I do revolve around generating images right now. So I usually am tasked with tasks like this. Okay, hey, you are given a bunch of photos of a person or an object, and now you have to, somehow make these things into a different object, or a different photo of these people. So one thing that people usually do is using that ideal solution is supposed to be using a machine learning model, like a generative model, like Stable Diffusion, train a LoRa for that, and then that trained module will be used to generate these things. That's a lot of work, a lot of effort into doing one thing. So easier way to do that is using like an adapter that already exists, like an IP adapter that can already just take in an image and generate another image. Lower quality, but that exists. What if we do it a little bit simpler? And another simpler idea would be just figuring out where the person's face is, cropping that face, and just generating the body around it. That's also there. You will get a good face. The, the, the motion won't be there as much, but who cares? You'd get the person in a different place. Even simpler, you have a bunch of templates, like those cutouts you see at functions. You can just pop your head in and they can click a photo. What if you have a bunch of templates? Just put your face and you just blur around the edges. So I start with the last one first. Okay, this is the easiest thing I can do. Let's generate some photos, or let's make some photos using that. That's an automatic pipeline. You give me a photo, I detect your face, I paste it in a template. Let's see how those are looking. Then, once that baseline is established, then I go higher and higher and higher. And that has allowed me to get a POC out very quickly, because usually, as well, like in startups or in any kind of these fun experimental problems, is you don't necessarily want to solve it a particular way. You just want a solution that looks good enough. Now, what is your good enough? That can be different. Sometimes it has happened that doing this very basic, simple solution has been good enough, and that's it. I don't need to invest a lot more time. So, making a full infrastructure and architecture of training this LoRa module and then doing that, that's a lot more complex than just getting a bunch of templates and sticking people's face. That's much easier. And I've found that has helped me out get stuff out quickly.
Now, whenever people get some really complex problem to solve, they are thinking like, a lot of voodoo shit in their brain. So Yatharth, what do you think? Like, okay, you have been assigned really, really complex problem. So what's the first principle? What's the first principle you think? Like,
Okay.
let's go on the easiest way.
Yeah, no, the first principle I think is just finding a solution. I think that's my first go-to. So, okay, any problem that's given to me that I feel, okay, this is a tough problem. So one thing that I always do is look around. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So first thing I do is figure out how others are doing it. What's the closest thing I can find that already exists? That's, I think, mostly my first principle. And then I see what's the easiest from those, combined with the idea that I have of the easiest thing to do. And just trying that out, seeing how that works out for me. Then doing all of the, research, looking around I figure out all of these things to do. Now I'll just try to see what's the best I can take from each of them and assemble something if I really need to do something complex. But my first thought process is don't reinvent the wheel, find out what others are doing. That's my first thing. That's how I go about problems.
What if there's a challenge to create something new which doesn't exist? Then what
Yeah.
you will do?
So if, let's say, something new exists, usually, there's a very famous idiom that to make a cake from scratch, you have to first invent the universe, right? From scratch means how much scratch, right?
Yeah.
So usually to make a cake, the the batter would exist, or if not the batter, the other ingredients like sugar would exist. How scratch am I talking about? So there is my first thought process is always breaking down a problem into its core parts, thinking about solution and breaking it down. I think that is the most helpful thing for any problem. So let's say I'm given a problem that you have to build a new Google, new search engine, but for AI related content that I want to do this. So my first would be, okay, if I have to search something, then that means first I need to tag things. So what are the tagging models that exist? How can I tag images or videos and etc.? So breaking down a problem like that is usually very helpful. And I feel that's my first go-to. Then I just look around and find, okay, what exists for that? And breaking it down into very simple components means that usually something exists.
Hmm.
If not, you can write it yourself, make it yourself.
It's really helpful. There are a lot of people, you see, they struggle with this kind of problem. So, in easiest way, in three simple words, what you would say to them when who is struggling with complex problems, whether it's in computer science or in anything else, whether it's in like studies too, like JEE Advanced is really tough. It's complex.
Mm.
So how does that help? What would you say to someone who is struggling with all of this to build
Yeah,
this kind of stuff?
one more thing that I totally forgot. Thank you for bringing up the JEE advanced example. When solving any JEE question, my thought process is never to solve the question. My thought process is what does the examiner want to get from me? What does he want to check?
Hmm.
That's my perspective on every single problem. Okay, looks like the examiner wants me to get this kinematics formula. That's that.
Hmm.
Or looks like he wants to get this rotation formula out of me. Okay, so that's what my thought process is. The examiner wants to check if I know this formula, or the examiner wants to check if I want to. That's my thought. And that has still moved on. Okay, what the person wants from me from this problem solution is like, I want to solve this. So not necessarily what exactly they want, but I will do what is the correct thing to do to solve that problem. So people who are struggling with JEE, I would say try to find a different perspective. Instead of seeing how to solve this problem, think about what does he want me to show. Okay, if this is a conic section problem, that this is ellipse, okay,
Hmm.
looks like he wants me to find the ellipse formula. I already know this formula, I can apply that.
Hmm.
So I think that's one of the most helpful things. Second thing is, which is very unusual, and I stopped giving this advice a little while ago, but I would still say that that was my formula when working here. um Always mark every single question, like prepare to do everything. Now, that can be overwhelming for people, which is what I realized, hence why I stopped giving this advice. But in my final JEE Advanced, which even my IIT friends don't believe, is that I marked every single question. I did not leave a single question in the final JEE Advanced that I gave. And on like any single test before that, I never leave a question. Never, ever, ever. Even if there is negative marking. My perspective of theory behind that is, I always tell it with this story that there was this one guy. He went to pray to God every day that, hey, God, please, please let me win the lottery. Hey, God, please let me win the lottery. Please let me win the lottery. Every day, for 1 year, he went to the temple religiously. Like, hey, God, please, please give me the lottery. So one day when he was sleeping after 1 year, God came in his dream. He's like, oh God, you're here. Thank you. What he like are you here to fulfill my wish or what? He's like, I want to fulfill your wish, stupid, but you have to buy the
Buy
lottery
the
ticket
ticket.
first, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
buy the ticket first, god damn it. That's what my
Hmm.
thing is. Like, if you do not mark every single question, how do you plan to get a 300 out of 300 or 360
Hmm.
out of 360? How do you plan to get the best if you're only marking like 220 out of 360? How will you ever get a 260 if you're only marking a 220? So if your goal is getting this higher score, mark for it, mark everything. So
Students are kind of defensive about this JEE advanced because it's advanced. The reputation this exam has, it's like this is one of the toughest. So they're like, no, I don't want to take any risk. So I'll go really defensive on it. Even the students who are like really confident in even in JEE exams board,
Mm,
JEE means they really score well. But those same students, they like get very less marks because they really got really defensive. Why? Because they know that JEE advanced is really tough, very tricky, and some questions are meant to live. That 2016 rotational question from physics,
mm.
which is very famous. So these people are like, what would you like just say to these people? Okay, don't get defensive on JEE advanced exam. Don't treat it like this is some very big
Mm,
exams.
yeah.
That people
Mm.
struggle with that. As you said that you never left a question and the students in IITs really didn't believe you. So what was your
Yeah, like
mindset?
people left tons of questions. Like one of my friends here got 505 rank in JEE. He's in also in computer science in IIT Indore. And he left questions. He did not mark everything. So people were shocked, like, you marked everything? Yeah, I marked everything. Don't care. Because I sort of got that demon out, that lingering problem that it's a big exam.
Hmm.
Getting that out, my main thing was giving a paper every day. When I was preparing for JEE, every single day, I would get up for the last month. I would get up, would give my exam in the evening. Like I would like give the full exam. In the evening, I would check, okay, these were the questions that I got right. These were the questions that I got wrong. Again, marking everything. So it became, when the day came, it was not as tough for me that okay, I was like, I've been doing this every day for a month now. What's the worry? I think people really sparingly give these exams, full exams. They always just keep doing PYQs and solving questions in isolation. But when you subject yourself to the entire exam, to the full setting every day for a long period, you then become used to it. So I think that's what helped me the most. And I would say just get the fear out. Like it's just a mock test. What's the problem? Give as many mock tests as you want. Keep giving tests. Even if you've seen a question. What's the harm in that? You've seen a question, good, mark it, go ahead. That improves your memory in some way or the other. People are like, I've seen these questions. Oh, so what? You saw what? Like 5 questions you remember. You hardly remember any questions when you have done so many. So you remember this question. That's good. Many people, like many of my friends, were like, I remember this question, but just the question, not the answer or how to
Yeah.
solve it. And then what's the point? Right. So subjecting yourself to this again and again and preparing yourself for for just giving your best. I think that's very important and a crucial skill to develop. Just
No,
doing it every day.
you said about the mock test, like, yeah, people are really scared to bleed in practices, and you say that you have to practice all day so that you can really give your exam, and you practice every day for the one before, then JEE advanced was for nothing, a piece of cake for you. So I think that people are really scared to bleed in practices, but you have to bleed in practice so that the final match is very, very easy, a piece of cake for you. That's the thing,
Not a
people.
piece of cake, I would
No,
say.
it's a
Piece of
phrase.
cake is, I think, a wrong wording here. But I would
Yeah, but
say it is not a big burden on you.
hmm,
That's I think the
yeah.
correct thing.
Yeah, you are confident and you're not gonna like screw it up.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, you have to handle pressure for this. You have to wake up every day and give your best. I mean, practice every day. What's harm in practicing? Nobody's watching you in your practice, but people here are like, what if I get less mark in Mohawks? I scored less mark in this, so my parents are gonna say this, and my teacher will say that you're not studying. But it's just a mock, not the final paper. People are really
Not
scared.
even that. I think like I knew myself that hey, I was not probably not going to get like the rank one in J. I knew that. That was probably not going to happen. Then still what? I was improving myself and I was actually like my final JEE advanced paper went much worse than actually what I was scoring in the mocks. So what? So what? That happens to a lot of people, right?
Yeah,
I feel that people put so much unnecessary thought into it that hey, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if I end up scoring bad? So what, man? Nobody cares. Plus, you trivialize these mock scores. If you give them every day, how long could somebody be, on it? Okay, I scored, okay, 150 is my normal score. So what? No problem. You'll improve. Or maybe you won't. Who knows? It's up to you to see if that's the right thing. Because I see many people, even after clearing JEE, they're like, we don't want to be an engineer. That happens.
Hmm.
They cleared something that's so tough for
Hmm.
so many people, and they still don't want to be an engineer. So many people are there. That does not mean that they were wrong in that or anything, but many people figure out very slowly what they really want to do. And I think
Hmm.
if you really want to clear it, just enjoy it, give it every day, and get this thing out of your head that it's a tough exam.
Yeah, it's hard for people to figure out what they want usually
Yeah,
because as when you turn 14, 15. At 14 you give your boards, I guess. 14, 15 generally.
yeah,
So
15. Yeah,
after that your parents are like, you're so good in the studies, good at science, and the societal pressure and everything. So I'm not gonna go deep in that. It's all that thing. So yeah, even but you can't say that that doesn't benefit you. Like clearing this exam give a lot of confidence and all the critical thinking you need to do a lot of things in so life. You get the discipline you want. So it's not a waste, to be honest.
definitely not a waste, but I would say trying for something. I think it's just my personal belief that in India, people are forced to do a bunch of things that is the societal norm, get into the rat
Hmm.
race,
Hmm.
clear J, clear NEET.
Hmm.
It don't necessarily have to do that to with the reward being that, hey, you will have a good life, you will have a good job, you will have a good money. It's not necessarily true all the time, right?
See, that's
Getting,
what
yeah,
you know. That's what society has done. They are playing the status game. They have made a status that getting into IITs mean you are here, and get taking arts you are here. So that's the thing. People chase after all this external validation from the society. That if I'm doing science, oh, I have certain reputation in society. If I'm taking arts, then society is not going to view me as someone who is very intellectually high. So it's all that people are chasing their reputation and all of that stuff. So
yeah.
just
But
leave that.
what I like to think about it like this. So I'm in IIT and I see
Mm,
my professors that they travel to with normal cars, right? Some of them use scooters, and they are probably making somewhere between 1-2 lakhs per month, which is very high. I'm not saying it's
mm,
low. It's a good salary. They're professors in a very reputed institution and all of that. But when I remember the directors that I saw when I was in Vibrant, they are traveling with like Mercedes. They have two, three Mercedes, Audis, one for going, one for coming, one black, one white. Every year they're going into. So I'm like, both are teaching. And
mm,
right, but look at what the level of these people is versus what the level of
mm,
this people is. When
mm,
both of them are really smart, right? So I feel if you're really good at what you do, it
mm,
does not matter what field you're in.
mm.
You're really good at writing, write books. If you're actually good, you'll get very far and people will respect you, right?
Uh, Even if you're not good, you have started something, you'll slowly by slowly you'll improve. That's the thing. People are not like mastered that thing in just like their first attempt. Like I played
For
basketball. If
sure.
you want to be good at shooting, then you have to practice 1,000 shots each day. It's the
Definitely.
same thing. Now, like
Yeah.
for this stuff, still I'm not very good at having conversation. I am not able to speak English properly, but I was like, I'm not able to do that. Should I start this? But I'm like, start it. You learn eventually. Like people learn by doing episodes by episodes of what they're missing, what they're going to learn. So that's the thing happen. Let people bully you. People are scared of like getting, bullied and something and stuff. Like, why would you care about that?
Yeah,
Same.
there's a very interesting story I have on that. So when I was in school, um, I still I'm still very young, but still I was a kid, and things mattered to me a lot back then. What others are thinking and all of that. So I used to have this haircut where like everything is down, and my parents used to
Hmm.
do it like that. So I used to have that haircut, and I used to go to school every day. In like seventh or eighth, I decided, hey, screw that. I'm going to get a haircut that I want. And back then this spiky hair, that was in the thing. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll get a spiky haircut. Now I was the studious kid. Nobody thought I would do that. Teachers and everybody were like, nah, so nobody was thinking I would ever get that. I
Hmm.
went in, I got that haircut. Like it was much like now my hair is less, but it was like full hair up to here and just pure spikes like this. And I thought it looked cool, so I got it. And then I used to go every day into school thinking that I was looking super cool and super nice. So the fun thing is, after like a couple of months, I realized that my hair actually didn't look like that because of the fact that my hair was too long and too wide. After like 30-40 minutes into school, my hair would turn like a mess into anywhere, going anywhere. I was looking like that, and still people did not care.
Hmm.
So I realized two things. First thing is, my friends and people who really care about me do not care what I
Yeah.
look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are
Hmm.
my friends.
Hmm.
They like the Yatharth Gupta that I am. And
Yeah.
people who don't really care about me, why do I care about their opinion? It doesn't matter. And they
Definitely.
don't really care about me. So whatever I
Definitely.
look like or whatever I do doesn't matter. So in both of the cases, it
Hmm.
doesn't matter what I do or what I look like. The people who like me or care about me will still keep caring. People who
Hmm.
do not care about me won't start caring. But why does it matter? So from then on, I started just doing things that I like, screw what people think. And I think that's a really important lesson that I learned very early on.
And it's a very important lesson, to be honest,
Yeah,
because these kind of things, like, what would someone say, hold people really back, to really achieving their true potential or really doing something new, because of a lot of the criticizers. But you shouldn't be caring about all the criticizers, because then you would never start, and eventually in 2 or 3 generation everybody's going to be dead. So why would you care about their opinion? This after this much of achievements, still everybody will think that you're just a nerd. So let me tell them, you're also part of institute drama club, you also participate in dance, in interbranch competitions, and you play guitar, plus you maintain a CPI above 9, and you do a job from like past 1.5 years. How do you do
yeah.
it, man? Like, what's your time management schedule?
Like I would say, like I said, I think that I enjoy what I do for work. The very famous saying, if you love what you do, then you never work a day in your life. It's sort of like
let me
that.
let me tell you something on that. There's a very
Yeah,
interesting quote from Tim Cook on that. As you said, that people said that if you really love what you do, it would just not matter. But thing is that the tools will feel lighter. You will work hard as twice as much at what you love, but the thing is that the tools will really feel lighter. That's the thing. It's a totally
yeah,
correct to just say that what you love will do. You will never feel it like work. It's a total
yeah.
prop.
Like no, the thing is, to me, it's never like I have to give out 8 hours of my day. Sometimes it's two, sometimes it's 16. Depends upon what I'm doing. And because I like it, I never feel that I have been working for so long. I definitely do get tired and that happens, but it's not that I am constantly thinking about it. Same goes for like maintaining a CPI. My current CPI is 9.23. And after 3.5 years, students, after the first year, are like, okay, we have 8.3, 8.4. How are you doing that after so many semesters? And one good advice is figuring out the right circle. Even in an IIT, not everybody is focused on studying or everybody is focused on the thing that you want to do.
Hmm.
So getting or being friends with the right people, even sitting in the class with the right folks is very important. If I sit like two, three benches behind or in the left or anything, people are usually talking about what they'll do, well, they'll go out for this in the class, which is not bad. And obviously, you're in college, you can do whatever you want to do, right? Who cares? But if I want to get a good CPI and I don't want to study after getting back from class, being able to pay attention in class, and more importantly, having somebody who is constant. Like I never do much in class, I just listen to the prof. They ask some questions, I try to solve it and whatever. But the students around me, the people that I sit with, they are always like, hey, he said this seems wrong to me. one core thing, I don't know if that happens in other colleges as well, but one core thing that I found that is happening a lot in my classes, people question the professor a lot. People are like, no, he is definitely lying. He does not know, right? It does not matter. He has been teaching this for 20 years. He does not know. He
Mm,
misspoke or something or something. There
mm,
has been an error on his side,
mm,
right? This cannot be true. So this skepticism actually enables us to learn a lot more. So when they're like, hey, I feel this is wrong, that should not be happening. And then I try to think, okay, he just said that. Why do I think it is happening? So now what the professor taught is only this much of my knowledge. This
mm,
is what I thought of myself, right? And this much is now what the other people are telling me. So my full knowledge is not just this much. This is also this and this, which is very helpful in the exam because now I can know that the professor wants to test this portion of my knowledge, this thought process that I had about this particular topic. So I would say getting yourself surrounded with the right folks is very important to achieving a lot of things. And as for the dance and acting and everything, guitar has been a passion of mine since like school. I actually tried to learn it in school, but my hands were too little. They're still not very big, but now they're big enough that I can actually play properly without any issues. So I started it like 1 year ago after the inter IT was over, and I was like, okay, let me take a break. I just did this big thing of taking this many people to Madras and had
mm,
this big competition. Now let me work on myself, do some self improvement. So I then started to learn how to play the guitar. It was really fun, really cool. I like played for 3 4 hours every day for 1 month, and then it was eventually bound to happen. That's I think what I've learned is if you just you know persevere, you one day get it. You know,
mm. Definitely.
so the whole universe,
Uh,
just does the thing of getting you to
yeah.
what you want.
Thing is that you have to work for it. Yeah. People
Definitely.
eventually give the thing they want right before getting them. So it's not just like that you are doing something for a couple of minutes, couple of hours, a couple of days, and you'll get that success. No, you have to work for it, even though it takes years, sometimes months, sometimes decades to get what you want. So don't give up. Believe in that and just do it. I think
Yeah.
people learn that in JEE preparation because it's a long run, and sometimes you feel like shit. Sometimes you feel like you're going to crack the exam, and sometimes you feel like, oh no, that's not my cup of tea. But when you do it, then you realize anything is possible. And if you give your heart, your mind, and some time, then that thing will happen for sure.
One thing I would like to add is that not always you actually end up achieving what you want. You can
Yeah.
spend months, years,
Mm.
decades, and you still might not do it. I've been trying to learn how to sing. I still can't sing for shit. Like I am very bad. Yeah. So I'm very bad at it. Does not mean that I would one day like
Yeah.
my hope is
See.
not that one day I'll become Arijit Singh. I know that's not going to happen. But still, I keep trying and I learn from that as well as a bunch of things. So people think that I have done so many projects or things that I'm successful at everything I do. That's not true. I
Yeah.
fail a
Mm.
lot,
Mm.
right? There are so many things that people don't see that I did spend months on and still failed. Like after my paper in reinforcement learning in my first year, I was given another opportunity for another paper and I worked on it for like 4 or 5 months, did a lot of things, submitted it in the conference and got rejected. No, but people don't know that because it got rejected. So why would I post it? And
Mm.
people don't know. But I did spend a lot of time on that as well. So people only see your success, but that does not mean that's the only part you learn from.
Tell me about your failures.
My failures, I have had ton of them. So like,
Tell me about it. We have time.
yeah, yeah. I would say the this one that I just told about. Another one was so when I was in my like first year. After the end of first year, there is something called IITI Summer of Code, IIT Indore Summer of Code, where the seniors organize this event where you have a bunch of problem statements, you work on them for a month or two, build projects and all of that, and they showcase, and then there are judges, and they'll judge and provide like one, two, three, top three, sort of like an inter-IIT preparation, like that. So yeah, everybody does that. So I took a machine learning problem statement, and people were like, I because I had my paper and I was doing it a lot. People were like, yeah, you're for sure going to win, and yeah, gold easily. And I did put a lot of effort in, me and my teammates. The problem statement was this much. We did like this much. We problem statement was about detecting brain tumors, and we also detected like COVID was, it's still well known. So COVID was about that. So using X-rays, you would detect, okay, this is saying it's COVID or not COVID. Doing all of these things. So different things like blood platelets detection of how many is red, how many is white. We did so much on that. Submitted this big thing. We made a full website about it, deployed the website. You could do a lot of things on the website. So people are like, hey, crazy man, you're doing so much. And because I knew a lot about machine learning, my friends, usually were like, hey, I'm getting stuck here. How would I do that? I helped them as well. And I did not win anything, nothing. Me and my team, we were, I think, one of the last ones, like nothing, got nothing. And that was crushing at that point in time. Like, okay, but that's a part of life. The people that I helped actually won, like got a high rank, and I was like, okay, that also happens. So I realized that not always do you get what you want and win if you do hard work, or there is a lot of things, right? And one of the core things that I found learned from my failures is my failure is not related to how much time or effort I put into it,
Hmm.
or it's related, neither it's related to like my skill or anything. It's always related to my understanding of what was required and what I did in that scenario. Now, if it is required by my professor to, just show up in a competition or do something, and me not showing up to prepare for it and getting late there, getting late is wrong here, right? They want
Hmm.
just me to show up. That's what they wanted, not me to be prepared. I can do like whatever my base knowledge is fine. That's why they asked me to come here. So that's one of the core things that I've learned from all my failures. Same with like NXP and this one, the E-Yantra thing I told you. E-Yantra is about you have build. So there are a bunch of problem statements. You can pick one. I picked one where there will be a robot that will draw anything on a very big sheet of canvas. It's a three-wheeled robot. It's called an omni wheel.
Hmm.
Wheels can rotate like this and can move. And you stick a pin in it, and then it can do a lot of things. So I built the whole software, did everything, good, submitted it. Nothing. Got nothing out of it. That does like I actually even learned how to assemble a bunch of things with the help of a few seniors and colleagues. We assembled the entire thing, put the firmware there, still did not get anything. Okay, no problem. Life goes on. And I think those are the two most important things. Learning from what went wrong, and
Yeah.
life goes on.
People learn more from failures than success.
For sure. For
And
sure.
failures are the most important thing. If you're achieving failure, then consider yourself as a lucky guy.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't fail. And as we see that, I think I should take this as an example. Like, I see toppers getting all the good marks all their lifetime. But at that moment when they don't get what they want or the marks, we see them completely breaking down, not having
Mm.
confidence from the second time, and they're doubting themselves that whether they'll be back on track or not. So that's the thing. Me, as I've been a sports person, I was playing basketball, from my whole school time. So we prepared for a particular tournament from like 7 to 8 months every day, sacrificing our academics every day. And we went to finals and we lost. We failed. We were the best team out there, but we still failed. So we got to know what are the flaws are in our team, and we have to fix them up. So that's the thing. So if you're failing, consider yourself lucky. You have to fail as
Yeah.
much as you want. Then only you're going to get success. And you have to win at one thing. No, people are scared to try new things because of the fear of failing. But you have to win one time. So try many things. As for this,
Yeah.
and for the saying that you're saying that, for the singing, Yatharth, people have to work smart, knowing that what they're good at. So if you're not good at singing, then obviously you won't get succeeded at that kind of thing. Like, yeah, if I'm good at basketball, but I'm going to play cricket, so I'm not going to get the success which I'll get in basketball, which I'll get in cricket. So you have to know your stuff. You have to know what you're good at. You have to find a
Yeah.
niche, and
That's what I said. Like in your first year, explore. Second year,
yeah.
figure out what you're good at, because you could be doing anything, but figuring out what really where your heart is, that's the main part.
And for that, you
And
have to for that
yeah,
you have to try many things.
yeah,
Many things you have to try. You have to find your even your unfair advantages and a specific knowledge. Specific knowledge in the sense you can't find out on your own. Your parents would tell you that you're good in this. Something like if you're good in something negotiations or sales, and your parents will feel like, you're good at this, or you'll pursue this. That's the thing. You have to find that unfair advantage too. Like if you have that, use it. It's a great thing. And if your parents know what your specific knowledge is, like the people who are in your surrounding can tell you that you are good at this specific thing. So if you're great in sales, selling people, talking to people, then you can be a great salesman. That's the thing. You have to find that thing. And for finding that
def-
thing, that you have to try new things.
yeah, definitely. Like I think people around you are some of the best folks to tell you
Mm,
what you can be good at, right? If you feel ever feel lost, like I do not know what to do, then asking your friends, your family is definitely a good idea to. They'll be like, hey, I've seen you are very good at this. Maybe you should try that out. And that helps out a lot. Even like
definitely.
one example I wanted to say on the point of failures was the tech fest thing. When I came to it, we did not win anything. Even being
Yeah.
the top 10 participants, we did not get anything. No problem. We enjoyed, we learned a lot in the tech fest, explored the exhibitions and all of that. That was a,
At that tech fest, we met each other, right?
yeah, yeah,
So see,
definitely.
we are talking. It's not a completely waste of thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
You get to have experiences. You get to meet bunch of people. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Moving on to Yatharth, you're really good in ML. So should people do ML? And if they should do, how should they get started with ML?
Yeah, so I would say again, like we talked about, you should first figure out if your heart is in ML, right? If you like just yourself are able to learn about concepts, think about like what's going on, and are able to generally figure out what's happening, then yeah, for sure, go ahead. ML is such a vast and interesting field, and I would say like it's so interesting, most definitely to me, that I have tried to explore everything in ML. So go ahead if you love, if you like the idea of machines learning themselves, then for sure to get into ML. But if you feel like it's because it's a little bit math heavy and you have a lot of
Hmm.
theory, you have a lot of algorithms going on. So if you feel you're much better off utilizing ML, not so using ML models, using these models to build something, get more into product, then maybe you should get into that. You can still use ML to build things, but you'll be more on the product or application side. That I've seen that so many people who might not be good at training models per se can be really good at using them for building these cool applications, cool products, cool projects that are just truly, truly amazing. So yeah, for sure. ML is a, a booming field, and getting into it or even just trying it out is a good idea for sure. Now, as for getting started, I would recommend doing one of two things. So, I myself uh, learned by two concepts. First is learning by doing. I just go ahead, build something. I'll fail, I'll crash, but still I'll try to build something, salvage something out of it. So first is learning by doing. Second is I'm more of a visual learner. So I like to watch YouTube videos more than reading books. So I personally feel that I would learn a lot more if I saw a nice visualization and that would stick in my head rather than reading it in a paragraph in a book.
Hmm.
So I think that if you want to get started, then the best way that I started was going to YouTube, look into a channel like Three Blue One Brown. He has such amazing visualizations. Or look into something like StatQuest. His channel has a lot about statistics, which is used in machine learning and talks about a lot of technical things. I feel these personally, channels like this help me motivate and learn. If you are looking into applying these things, then looking at something like Code Bullet, who applies reinforcement learning to play games. He has a very popular video, I think, like over 40 million views on, the Dino game that's in Chrome. He built an AI to play that game
Yeah, everybody
and get
plays that.
very far. Yeah. So, like building things like that and learning. And then he has a bunch of interesting videos where he teaches how to walk, like AI, how to walk. Or, yeah, I would say get inspired. And you don't necessarily have to get inspired with just this. You can get inspired with the applications of ML because ML can be applied anywhere, Teaching machines how to solve problems is just so universal that you can apply it to anything. Scientists are applying it to create amino acid sequences to get new medicines. There is Google's DeepMind AlphaFold, which does that, or playing chess, right? So playing
Yes.
Go, yeah, these things can do anything. You can do anything that you want. Pretty even one idea that I had. So I always preface it. Think of your wildest idea you want your computer to be able to do. People usually don't think of any wild ideas. Like I've taken a bunch of workshops, so usually I go there and I ask them, "Hey, what do you want to build? What is your wildest idea?" People don't have anything, so I give this example generally to think, like, improve their thinking. Was what I wanted to build was, it's cool that we can look at previous year questions and everything. But what if we had some AI that can take in like your book or previous year questions and generate the actual paper? I'm not just saying a paper,
Hmm.
the actual paper that's going to come this year. Even if it lands like 4 out of 10 questions, that's big.
That's
You've
really
built
big.
something that's really good. Yeah. And this was way, way before the era of Chat GPT and everything. So nobody was thinking that, hey, we could probably just give it to Chat GPT and it will generate. People were like, okay, what the hell? How would we do that? And I would say having wild imagination like that really gets you very far. So um, I would say one channel, one person that I've been motivated by is Stuff Made Here. He has such incredible videos of, he made a bow that can shoot automatically. So you're bad at aiming? No
Hmm.
problem. Just pull the bow and it'll automatically aim and shoot at the correct place always. Or if you're bad at basketball, you can just throw the ball and it'll automatically go in. So he made a board that would just move around and tilt and get sync every time. So
That's interesting.
yeah, his projects are really inspiring and can motivate people into doing a lot of cool things. So I think getting inspiration is very important for getting into ML because ML is a tool. You have to come up with the ideas. It's going to tell you how to do something that you want, but you have to figure out what to do with it. And
Hmm.
I think that's my biggest advice on how to get started. There's always a bunch of courses, good courses on Coursera by IBM or deeplearning.ai. There are tons of good courses. But I feel personally that looking at these cool visualizations, figuring out one idea, some very wild idea, and going on a wild goose chase to just try and find how to do it, looking online. Okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? That gets you to learn the most, in my opinion.
One thing I really wanted to ask you is that, do you think people who are self-taught programmers uh, can stand a chance against some computer science students who are in the top institutes?
Yeah, I am a self-taught programmer. Like I learned programming in class 9 and I did not learn programming coming here. I was really into games. Really wanted to build games. So there is one more important thing that I always stand by is, if X can do it, then why not me? And that X
Hmm.
can be anybody. That
Hmm.
X can be the smartest person. That can be Elon Musk. Like if he can do it, why not me? I always think about the fact that they are just human and I am a human too.
Hmm.
So if they can do it, then why not me? So I was in school and there was this friend of mine who was from, another section. So we usually did not meet that much. But one day, okay, one interesting fact is in school, I was, the guy who scored good, but I was not the guy who studied hard. I never really liked studying, especially after going home and even in school. So whenever there was an opportunity to participate in an activity that would mean that I would have to spend less time sitting in the class, I would
Hmm.
take it. I went to basketball trials, and that's the only time I have played basketball. So I registered for basketball trials. Same with table tennis. I have played table tennis twice in my life, and both for the trials of the 2 years, eighth and ninth. Like, those were the trials. And they were like, trials are happening. Whoever wants to come to this period. I knew, okay, I'll get a turn. I'll get to play 5 minutes. I'll incredibly crash, but I will get to spend one period outside. So that's what I did. So I participated in a competition where you had to make a digital card. So you had
Hmm.
to go into Microsoft Word and make a card and everything. So it was going to take up 2 periods. I was like, sign me up. And I was good with computers. Luckily, my house has had a computer since I was born. Like in 2003, when I was born, there was a computer in my house. So I have had good knowledge about computers. So I finished the task in like 15-20 minutes. Now there's still about an hour left. What to do? So I started talking to this guy, this friend of mine who's still designing doing stuff. I was like, so what are you up to? He said, I'm learning programming. His dad was, I think, some kind of Swift programmer. Swift is for like iOS and stuff. So he's like, I want to learn this. I want to learn that. I learned C++. He showed me some DOS commands, some plain stuff. He probably just printed something. I don't remember what it was, but I was like, that's cool shit. I want to do that too. If he can do it, why not me? We're in the same class, same everything. So that day I went home. I searched on YouTube, learn C. So one thing I knew about was that C comes before C++.
Yeah.
So I learned C. I started building things and the same thing that as soon as I was presented with the slightest bit of tools, my imagination ran wild. So I just learned how to print something in C. And now I'm like, how do I make a calculator? So he told me how to add two things. So this is also one interesting story that made into something interesting I'll talk about later. But uh, basically, he told the video I was watching taught me how to add two numbers, like take an input, add two numbers, print the numbers. Simple stuff. He also taught me like you can also do minus, you can do multiply, you can do divide. Four operations. I thought, okay, let's build a calculator. Built a calculator. Cool. Plus, minus, multiply, divide. I was like, what kind of calculator only has four things? Let's go for something more. So I added square.
Yeah.
Square is easy.
Uh,
If multiplication is a times b, square is a times a. I thought, okay, why stop at square? Let's add square root. So then added square root. A divided by b became a divided by a.
yeah.
At square root. So now I'm testing the square root. Square root is always giving 1. If I noticed, I just did a divided by a. It's always going to give 1.
One. Yeah.
So now that was my first debugging problem, finding my own bug in this 15 lines of code. That took me 30 minutes to find out why was I always getting 1. 30 minutes in staring at this small line of code that why am I always getting 1? And then I was like, oh, I now realize. Then another bigger problem presented itself. How do I take the square root? I had not
Hmm.
learned about libraries yet, importing the math library and using square root. Did not know that. It's like there are these four operations plus, minus, multiply, divide. Now I have to get the square root. Unfortunately, because I was just in class ninth, I had not learned about the Taylor series. So I did not know how to apply that either. So I was like, okay, what can we do? So I spent 1 hour engineering this solution, which was just going to try everything till the half of the number. So if it's 25, it will try up to 12. It'll try, okay, 1 times 1 is not 25, 2 times 2 is not 25, and so on and so forth. And then I added more precision. I was like, let's do it in increments of zero point 0.1, then 0.01, and so on. So that was my first problem solving experience. And Yeah, I was completely self-taught. Nobody was teaching me. I just learned online, looked up a bunch of tutorials, learned C, C++, then C sharp to actually build games and started in Unity. So yeah, that's I think anybody can do it. Programming is not about going to computer science lectures. Even you won't learn anything in computer science lectures, to be honest. You'll learn more yourself.
But I was talking, but what about industries aspects? Getting a degree in CS, but you are
Mm,
supposedly you are taking, you have a different branch. Just say like you are having civil, but you are a self-taught programmer. You did it yourself by you learn many things like what are the things demanded in market. You learn all that skills. But in the job aspect, if you are there, do you think you will
mm.
be like you would have some advantages as you if you are holding a degree of CS, another guy is not holding a degree of CS?
Okay. So I think this is my personal classification. There are three kinds of CS jobs. There is the people that you're using a software, something
Mm,
like PowerPoint, Excel to build charts, to provide value. The consultancy people, they do a lot of things. They build a lot of analysis, data analysis, and all that. Second kind of folks are the ones that are building these tools that these guys are using.
mm,
And the third kinds of folks are the folks that are building the technology on which these applications are allowed to be built.
yeah.
Now, if you're a CS major, then a lot of things that are taught to you are on, the third thing I talked about. Those require really strong computer science fundamentals. But for the first two, you don't need the computer science fundamentals as much. Second one requires a little bit of CS fundamentals, but the first one definitely does not require anything. So if you're a person who is using React, yeah, sure, you don't need to know CS. You can build websites very well as anybody who has taken a CS course. But if you're building React itself, then yes, for sure, you would need a little bit of knowledge and you would be better if you know how, rendering things works if you had taken a computer graphics course. And if you're somebody who's building JavaScript and these tools itself that React is built upon, these runtimes that React utilizes, then you definitely need the knowledge of the low level things that are going on. So yeah, for the most part, for the most of the industry, like you mentioned civil. One of my friends, really good friends, is in civil. He knows how to develop websites and just learned how to develop apps and got into a startup. It's a US based startup. He's making their app, earning good amount of money, and he's in the industry. He's building apps. So does not matter what branch you're from, or if you're good at something, good at using tools, if you have good problem solving skills, I think you can definitely thrive in this industry.
Yeah, generally we have seen people are in different branches, but everybody is learning computer
Yeah.
science and grabbing a job in that category, right? Yeah. So if you are good in a job, even you don't have that degree, you would have that unfair advantage. You could crack that job. That's
Thing
great.
is, it's not as much about cracking a job as much as it is about being likable and doing what's required of you. So if you know what you have to do, then you will be much, much better at a job, even if you have to learn something.
Yeah.
So one of the experiences was I primarily work in Python and have good knowledge of C++ because I've done that. But in one of the things I was asked, hey, so one thing that's important in machine learning is the data. Getting a lot of data is really important. So I was asked to fetch a bunch of data from online. Now downloading a bunch of files, 100 files, 200 files, 1000 files, it does not matter if it's slow or whatever. But when you're downloading 10 million files, then it does matter. Even a little bit of, if it's like 5% faster, you're saving hours and hours of computation time and network bandwidth and all of that. So, yeah, I thought I have to improve the program that I had. The clear deadline was I had 2 days to download like something like 50 million things. So, a lot of things. And downloading it in Python, utilizing all of these multiple processes and threads in Python is not as efficient as doing it in Go. So I learned Go in those 2 days. In the 2 days that I have to actually build the thing, I learned Go, built it in Go, and then ran it in Go and got the thing done. So once you know what's required of you,
Hmm.
then you can just learn those skills and do these things. That's, I think, one of the bigger things. Like my friend, he just knew web development
Mm.
and he knew that you could use React Native to build apps. So then he started learning app dev as well after he got his job, and he's doing well at it.
Yeah. Give me, give me a roadmap. Okay. First of all, I want to ask you this. ChatGPT has came. There are many AIs, People say that, there was a pretty popular statement going viral in the past days. Who is the CEO of NVIDIA? What's his name?
Jensen,
Yeah,
Jensen
he
Huang.
said that you don't need to learn programming nowadays. Do you think that varies? Do you think that is true?
Yeah, so just like I talked about, there are three layers of people, right? In
Yeah.
CS, right? So obviously, ChatGPT, if it's going to do somebody's work, it's going to do the third person's work, then the second,
Mm.
then the first. The fun part is that I find is that when calculators were invented, calculator before then was a job. A
Mm.
person would go to, sit in a bench. Like there are sewing tables you've seen in the
Yeah,
industry.
yeah.
There
Mm.
were benches. People would compute numbers by hand and doing all these computations by hand. That was the real job. And that got replaced by calculators, computers. They came and went this job. That did not mean those people were jobless anymore. Those people started doing a different job of maintaining those computers, fact checking them, or doing these checks. So, similar way, you must have seen that ChatGPT is good, but people use GitHub Copilot a lot more when coding. So, GitHub Copilot is an assistant that helps you write your code. It does not write the entire thing itself, it writes pieces of it, whichever
Mm.
piece you want it to write. So, I would say AI would come and would help people build things quicker by prototyping or getting a first block of code that people can edit. I think it will do that, but definitely not going to replace programmers, or programming is not going to become obsolete because there is a lot more to do. This is a big word. So
Like
yeah.
you have an idea, you have to write so many lines of codes. AI can do that. AI can write some bunch of codes, and you have to modify that thing as how you want it. So that's how the AI is going to help.
Yeah, like let's say, for example, there was this project that I was doing. So I found out about this new model that's going to, detect turns and everything. So I was building essentially a speech-to-speech pipeline where I would speak something and the AI would start speaking and I can interrupt it. And, just like we are doing this podcast, we can just talk. It's like a call that we
Mm.
can have with AI. I was building this. So there is one component called the voice activity detector. It detects when I'm speaking and will interrupt the AI. So I did not have to write the component entirely. I could just do like hash VAD and then it wrote a function for that. It did it. I ran it, it ran. So now I don't, but I needed to know that I need a voice activity detection module here.
Yeah. Mm.
So, like I'm saying, in most jobs, how to do is somebody that you usually learn yourself by Googling. Now,
Mm.
AI is going to have you do one less step of Googling. The problem is, it's still not that good that you'll never have to Google. You still have to go into Stack Overflow and find out why this is causing a problem. But sometimes it's getting better and better. But if you write, okay, I want to do this, it can do it. So building things that are normal, simple, and something that we call boilerplate, AI is going to replace writing boilerplate. It is going to do that. But
The
I wouldn't
non-creative
say,
things, AI
yeah, the
gonna
thing
replace
that is
that.
standard that everybody has to do. Like
Yeah.
anybody who's building a
Hmm. Hmm.
speech-to-speech pipeline has to use a VAD. So if I type in VAD, yes, it'll give me the VAD. That's okay. So I think that's where AI is going to come in as an assistant to us, as a tool for us to use rather than something that is going to replace people altogether. And
So.
if you see, like, there is something called human in the loop.
Hmm.
So human in the loop AI is actually getting much and much better. That it is going to do its thing, but the human is going to be the one who is checking it and verifying it. And maybe someday it's going to do some basic tasks very quickly. But there is very fun quote that AI is going to replace programmers the day clients start giving clear descriptions of what they want, and that's
Yeah,
never going to happen.
that's not going
So
to happen.
we are
Definitely not.
safe. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think that's essentially.
That's a programmer's job, right? The client is going to say, "I want this," and then you have to figure it out. You have to write the plans how you
Yes.
want it and what you
Yeah.
want, what they want, and you have to structure it. So that's the thing. Yeah, AI can't replace the human brain, because if you're very close to create something like brain consciousness, then there could be something. But we are no close. We are no, we are not close to create this kind of thing.
But that's really an interesting topic for me because I think, let's say you created an artificial intelligence that's capable of thinking. Then what? What happens then? Like, what's the impact? To me, there is not really much impact as like giving birth to a child. Yes, you
Hmm.
created a new AI. It's like going to think on itself. It's going to be conscious. It's going to do things. But what does that mean? Does it? It's not going to be always very smart or very good or whatever,
Definitely.
right? It can do some things,
Hmm.
but like humans struggle with a lot of things, the AI or the all-knowing thing would still struggle. Problems are going to be solved. They've been getting solved.
Hmm.
People could not come, like me and you sitting in different states can still talk to each other in real time. That was not possible like 200 years ago, right? It was not going to be very easy, but now I can see you face to face very
Yeah,
easily. So
definitely.
problems are getting solved.
Hmm.
People don't send that many mails anymore. It's all emails. Like that, AI is going to solve a bunch of easier problems. But
Hmm.
the problems, there will be more, like there will be harder and harder problems that are going to keep coming. And humans are going to become smarter to adapt to those.
Humans can get more smarter than using AI. Like, as you said, it's a tool. Use it and get more smarter. Learn to solve more complex problems. We can do that. So yeah. I mean, if you said that a hypothetical case, if we can create something like consciousness, then it's going to be the case. But we're not. Do you think we are close to create that thing? Like AGI is also coming nowadays. We have had a lot of talks about it.
Yeah, so the thing is, if I ask, so what are the things that you interact with people for on a professional basis? You give them, assign some task, some work to
Yeah.
do, right? On a professional basis, you would do that. You can do that to AI right now, right? And it is going to think about it or whatever it's going to do, and it's going to give you an output. I want to write an email to my professor saying that this project has this problem, and I want it to be in a formal tone. I just write this, put it into ChatGPT. It's going to write a formalized mail to my professor. So sure, AI is doing my job. It's writing my email, but it did not know that I wanted to write my mail to the professor, right?
Yeah.
So even if AGI happens and there is something that can think on itself, what is it going to think about?
You have to give the topic. You have to give
You
them
have
the
to give
topic.
it the topic, or even if it has the topic, it thought about it. Then what? I can think about a lot of things. What
Mm.
happens then if I do not bring it into action, not
Mm.
bring it into the real world?
Mm.
Nothing really happens. So AI can think all it wants. AI can write code all it wants, right? But it's not going to be like people. I think what many people who are not into ML think AGI or something like this is going to be like Skynet in in
Some
the
Terminator shit.
Terminator series. Yeah, it's not going to be that. Skynet can
Mm.
propagate into the world. Bro, I can pull one cord in the entire server and it would come crashing down. Right? It's there is when you build stuff, you realize
Mm.
how fragile it is. One wrong thing and it will come crashing down. It's very hard to maintain. That's why you have so many people working, so many smart folks working on it. It's not easy to maintain or build. It's not going to start traveling to your laptops and conquering the world. Nothing like that would happen very even
I
close
know.
to being so.
And this is such an informant information, and people are like freaking out these days, like AGI is gonna come, this is gonna kill us, what if they attack the nuclear missile? I'm like, do you really think that is gonna happen? I mean, as you said, we have
To launch a nuclear missile, you have to press a physical button,
yeah,
two keys, and press a button. That's why it's there.
it's
Yeah.
seriously, I mean, trust the smart guys, working out there. Like seriously. I mean, yeah, people are real. And the thing is that if you have the half knowledge about it, then it's really dangerous. So don't just believe everything you read out there.
Yeah, for sure. And many of the things are there to build hype. Like I don't know if you heard about the whole Devin debacle. That okay. So Devin was a tool that they showed that can replace AI. It had like a chat interpreter that had a terminal. It had a Google screen window, so it could look up Google. It could so if you assign their main idea was you assign it a GitHub issue.
Hmm.
It now has seen the issue. It
Hmm.
has seen the code base. It will go to Google and figure out what components it wants. It will run the code. It will write the code, run it. Whatever output is there will go to it. It will then rechange it and just keep this entire loop going by itself and solve a ton of problems. And their benchmark scores and everything was super good, super amazing. So it was aimed at replacing a programmer. That was like a basic low level guy who fixes bugs or writes some simple
Hmm.
code.
Hmm.
It was going to replace that. What happened was it was not true. It was fake. But the fun part is people did end up actually building tools like that. And then what? Nothing happened. Nobody adopted. Programmers are still there. People are still working and people are still trying to make that. So that's what I'm saying. Build out all you want, but actually productionizing it and
Hmm.
using it at the scale at which humans work is very, very, very tough. And it costs a lot. A lot, not might not be necessarily more than what a human working would cost,
Hmm.
but because humans who are good at their job are more reliable.
Yeah,
If I tell you that,
definitely.
hey, I like the color red in my websites,
Hmm.
and next day you come and show me a blue website, I would say, hey, I want red. Now, even through projects, you would still remember that I like red, and
Uranium.
when I'm a client, you would show me a red website and I would instantly approve it. Humans can have this long-term memory and a lot of things. Just having these small niches and having this working perfectly without any human intervention is tough. I don't know if it's ever going to be possible, but it will definitely be assisting humans, helping humans make things easier. So they would spend, the people who are spending more time looking into Google would spend less time doing that. But yeah, for sure,
Definitely.
it's not going to replace anybody's.
Yeah, I mean, human beings are special. Consciousness is special. There's a reason we have it, and it's very special. So not everybody is going to replace it. Not certainly not AI is going to replace it. It can help you to achieve greater things. I can say that. Even you are saying that it can help you to achieve greater things. It can save a lot of time. The things which were we able to use, like which costed us 10 minutes. Now AI can, with the help of AI, we can do it in just 1 minute.
Yeah.
You want to write an interesting story, then you have to think about a lot of stuff. You can give an exact good prompt to AI, it can write you a great story and you can modify it. So that's a really great thing. It's getting creative. You can get more creative using AI. So no, people talk about it like AI is not going to replace you. The people who are using AI are going to replace you.
Yeah, that's a good saying, I would say. And essentially, like I like to compare it with when Google came out or when Photoshop came out in the first versions. Like people can make a lot of crazy things with Photoshop, right? And now with AI, it's just a little bit easier. Now people have to be less skilled to do the same things that people could
Hmm.
do earlier with Photoshop. That does not mean the people whose Photoshop will be gone or real photos will ever be gone. Real photos are still as much important as they were before. Even more so now that there is so much AI content out there. Real photos would be more important. So in the same way, I would say people, one of the big things that I see people talking or freaking out about is AI is going to replace humans. It is never going to replace humanity. It will
Definitely.
replace some people that are doing some simpler job. That has always happened, like I told you, with computers or
Hmm.
calculators and whatnot. Simpler jobs like libraries, people
Yeah,
visit libraries very less frequently now that there is Google. Yeah.
like the jobs which are non-creative. I said, Nawal said this, that The AI is going to replace all the non-creative jobs, but the jobs that require creativity, it's going to stay with you only. So like, yeah, it's like, hmm, that statement.
Yeah.
You know, give me a proper roadmap, like someone who's going to be in the college next year, or somebody who's freshly new in college. They want to learn the programming by themselves. What should be the proper roadmap for them? All the resources
Okay.
and on the roadmap.
First thing I would say is just just try it out. You know, go and like if you want to learn Python, go on to kaggle.com slash learn.
What's a first language you should be starting with?
Depends. So there are two good languages to start off. One is Python, another is C++. If you start with C++, it's going to be a steeper curve to learn C++. But once you know it, going into Python would be very easy. But if you start with Python, then moving into C++ might be hard because now you're familiar with easier programming.
Hmm.
But people sometimes, think of it as a stepping stone and go to Python and then can learn C++ easily. But Python is just so comfortable. Like I'm conversing with you in English,
Hmm.
I can write a conversation into Python in pure English. Like it will look like pure English to you. There's very little syntax jargon, very, like, it just works. Python, I would say the motto of Python would be it just works. You think it, you write it, it's probably just going to work. C++ is not that way. There's a lot of things about like type definitions and all this. If you're starting out, I would say go for C++. It's going to be a little harder, but you'll learn a lot more in the process. And people who want to pursue, like get, you know, traditional jobs through the normal ways by applying to it and
Hmm.
clearing the OAs, you need DSA. So you would definitely need to do it in C++. That's a much better language to do it in. Obviously, any language, you can do it in any language, but C++ has a lot of resources. You'll find a lot of things to do it in. So yeah, for sure. So start with C++. So for Python, you can just go to kaggle.com/learn and you'll find Python and a lot of things. For C++, there's just so much. You can go on to GFG, you can learn a lot of things there. You can go on to YouTube, you'll find lots of tutorials there. Like there's a very good channel called Free Code Camp. It has so many small to big tutorials. You want 1 hour tutorials, it's there. You want a 50-hour tutorial, it's there. So I would say, like, watch. There was also, Harry's videos, Code with Harry. You can watch
Code with
those,
Harry.
yeah, if
What are
you
the best
want. So,
channels out there from Indians?
I personally really watched YouTube as a kid. And YouTube has a lot of English content. So I always used to watch like Vertasium and all of these. So I naturally gravitated towards English channels. That has actually allowed me to have a good English speaking. But for Hindi, there is, I think, Krish Nayak. He's in ML
Krishna.
a little bit. And Code with Harry, he's also good. But I do not know that many Hindi channels because I
Tell me about
personally
English
usually,
channels.
yeah, English is Free Code Camp. Free Code Camp is
Free Code
good.
Camp.
Tech
I've
with
heard about
Tim.
that. There's
Yeah,
one
Tech with Tim.
CS50. There's one
Yeah,
CS50.
yeah, 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 yeah. Like obviously Stanford's, MIT's,
Stanford's. Yeah.
you'll find free courseware. Like you MIT courseware or they have a bunch of lectures, but those are college lectures. They'll be like college, and that can be interesting. But usually when you want to learn something, you want to spend a little less time just actually learning the actual thing and a little
Hmm.
bit more time doing and figuring out because no matter how slowly I teach you a concept, you'll only be able to actually understand it when you start using it or applying it or thinking about it yourself when I'm not there. I think that's where the actual learning
Yeah.
happens. So you,
Pick up a project and you learn it. Like if you want to learn the
yeah,
editing, pick up the content creation and you will learn the editing as a byproduct. That's the thing.
that's what I'm talking about. So just go watch like a 4 hour, 6 hour video from Free Code Camp or Code with Harry. You have some basic programming fundamentals. Think about some full project. Like one project that I wanted and learned a lot. Gee, it's a so simple project, and you think, how did you learn something here? But I wanted to build a program that whenever every day, whenever I logged into my computer, it would show me a random quote. That's it. That's the project. It
Hmm.
was when I was starting, just after the calculator. This was the second project that I wanted to build. So I built it. I basically had 100 quotes and it would randomly pick a quote every day and show it to me. That was it. What was happening was whenever I reran it, my idea was obviously I'm not going to keep something running every day. It'll every day launch at a specific time and show me a random quote. What happened was I was getting the same quote over and over and over and over again. I was like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? That led me into a big rabbit hole of how random numbers are actually generated. Computers cannot generate random numbers and how all this happens. So I learned a lot of that about computer science just by trying to build this small stupid thing.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, go for it. Build some project. Like you will get some ideas on free code camp. Follow along if you want. If you want to do something yourself, start Googling and you would get to it. So, starting out, you have started out. You have built something small, something simple. You have got a basic idea of programming. Now, let's say if you want to go into web development or ML or whatever, if you want to do DSA, so there is a lot of resources on each of this. So for DSA, I would say GFG is one of the good ones that you can do. You can definitely go on lead code, start solving problems. But I personally, being a visual learner, I found a channel like Reducible very, very useful. So that channel has not necessarily like it has a couple of things on standard DSA concepts, but it has a video on how PageRank, Google's algorithm, works. Like Google's whole algorithm about searching through millions of pages. How does PageRank work? Very interesting visualization on that. Or how does, your encoding works? So Huffman encoding, and how do you encode images or messages that you send? Because if you sent everything or transported everything into the broad thing, you would lose a lot of. So basically, people figured out, computer scientists figured out there's a lot of patterns. And if you
Hmm.
can figure out those patterns, we can compress these things much, much smaller. That's why PNG is bigger and JPEG is smaller. So how do these work? So I found myself learning a lot from channels like Reducible, Spanning Tree, Three Blue, One Brown. I would say go look at those and get some ideas of some computer science fundamentals. Now you have some fundamentals. Uh, you can start building something that's much more interesting. So one project I would say when I was again in that 3 month vacation of my second year, I had learned decent amount of ML and I was thinking, okay, what should I build? I had learned recently how to deploy things uh, on like Docker containers and all of that. So I built a project where you could provide me any link, any product link from Myntra, Amazon, Flipkart, and I would show and give me your photo and I would show you wearing that product,
Hmm.
right? So that back then virtual try on something now you can really find models in the wild. You can just
Yeah.
apply that and use it. That did not exist back then. None of those were public. So I had to come up with my own pipeline. It was a 3 model pipeline and I built that pipeline. But the most important part was I wrote full tests for it using PyTest. I deployed it like using Fast API. I make a backend. I made a CLI that can run it. I made it installable. So those were the things that I did. So go for these things. Once you have built something,
Hmm.
learn how to ship what you have built, how to share with people. Because one thing that you very realize very, very quickly is the big problem of it works on my machine. Everybody starts saying that. It worked on my laptop. I don't know why it's not working on yours. It works on my machine. It works on my laptop. It works on my computer. But you realize that the actual job, or more than 70% of your job, is figuring out how to make it work on any machine.
Any machine.
So
Yeah.
whatever you built is 30% of it, 70% is getting it to the user. So I would say learning these concepts would be your second part. Now you build something cool, start showcasing it. How to build a package, how to deploy if you're making into a website. Where do you deploy the database? Where do you deploy the backend? Where do you deploy the front end? Doing virtual deployments. Once you have gotten that much down, now you can build something simple and ship it very quickly. Now you get to the fun part, learning what's actually in the industry, what's trending. So if you're into web, then you might learn Next.js or Vue, or you would learn Nest.js for the backend. You would learn Django for your backend instead of using something like Fast API. So yeah, doing that is what's going to level up your skills. So first step is basics, second step is shipping, third step is polishing and leveling up, upskilling yourself. And then finally is just applying. Go find a job, do something. So in your first year, just go crazy.
Go crazy.
Learn from these websites. So one of some great places to deploy would be like Vercel if you're deploying a website, or if you want to deploy a container, then using this still starting learning how to learn use AWS a little bit. Or if you are wanting to use it for free, then DigitalOcean in the starting gives you free things. So yeah, figuring out these free places, or for database, there is Avon if Postgres is not working out for you. Cloudinary for keeping your photos. Just a bunch of these tools. You yourself will start accumulating in your head or in the back. Okay, I want to upload a photo. I just did that in that project. I'll just take it and reuse it. A
Mm.
bunch of programming is just reusing a bunch of old things that you built.
Thank you, Yatharth, taking out the time and having this wonderful conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Weber, for having me.
I've,
It was
I've learned a
lovely
lot,
talking to
Yeah.
you.